There are 11 FNAF games in total, with a 12th on the way. Here's how to play them in chronological order. Five Nights at Freddy's 4 is first up, as it takes place in 1983. This is assumed because of an Easter egg during one of the post-night minigames. You'll see a still for a commercial for a show called Fredbear and Friends, which appears to have aired in 1983, given that's the date beneath the title. This game is second in line for a chronological playthrough, as it's set in 1987. This can be assumed from the paycheck you receive at the end of Night 5, which is dated for that year. Five Nights at Freddy's sister location is tricky to place on the timeline. According to Hand Unit at the beginning of the game,
even more so the unfortunate closing of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, it was clear that the stage was set, no pun intended, for another contender in children's entertainment.
Fans think this is in reference to the bite of '87 and the subsequent closing following FNAF 2. Five Nights at Freddy's takes place a few years later than the previously mentioned games, likely sometime in the early 90s. This can be assumed from Phone Guy's dialogue during Night 1, where he says that the animatronics used to be able to walk around during the day, but then there was the bite of '87. This helps place it after FNAF 2 and before FNAF 3. It's uncertain where Into the Pit's storyline fits into the series chronologically, or if it exists within the ongoing canon at all. If it does, fans suspect it takes place around the time of Five Nights at Freddy's 3. Several items found in Jeff's Pizza, the setting of Into the Pit, can be found at FNAF 3's Fazbear's Fright, which was said to be decorated with the remains of the original restaurant, which later became Jeff's Pizza. This game is set 30 years after Freddy Fazbear's Pizza closed its doors, which would put it after the events of FNAF 1, given that's when Freddy Fazbear's Pizza closed for good. This would place it sometime around the 2020s. Throughout this game, you'll salvage animatronics. One of these is Springtrap, whose first appearance in the series was in FNAF 3, which, to some, places this game sometime after it in a chronological playthrough. During the opening welcome message for the game, Hand Unit states that Fazbear Entertainment has developed something of a bad reputation over the past few decades. Given that Help Wanted recreates situations from previous games in the timeline up to FNAF 3, it makes sense to place it after FNAF 3. In a chronological playthrough, this game comes in last. This comes from the fact that Freddy Fazbear's has now grown into a mega pizzaplex, which there is no evidence of in the previous games. Help Wanted 2 takes place between Security Breach and its DLC Ruin. This placement is assumed due to one of Help Wanted 2's endings, in which your character becomes the mask bot that gives the Vanny mask to Cassie. It's all open to interpretation though. What's your theory?